There are some wounds that do not look dramatic from the outside. They do not always leave visible scars. They do not announce themselves loudly when a new relationship begins. Instead, they hide beneath smiles, beneath attraction, beneath chemistry, beneath the hope that maybe this time things will be different. But when someone has lived through betrayal, especially the kind that shattered trust at a deep emotional level, that pain rarely stays in the past. It follows them quietly into the future. It enters new conversations, new connections, new promises, and new love stories long before anyone realizes it is there. And when that person carries a fearful avoidant attachment style, the impact can become even more complex, because now there are two powerful forces living inside them at the same time. One side longs for closeness, safety, intimacy, and the feeling of finally being understood. The other side remembers what happened when trust was given before. It remembers the humiliation, the rejection, the lies, the abandonment, the sudden coldness, or the emotional collapse that came after opening up. So love becomes both the thing they want most and the thing they fear most. This creates a relationship pattern that can feel heartbreaking for everyone involved. They may come close, then suddenly retreat. They may ask for reassurance, then doubt it when it arrives. They may seem deeply invested one moment and emotionally distant the next. To the outside world, it can look confusing. To the person living it, it often feels exhausting. They are not simply avoiding connection. They are trying to survive pain that taught them connection could become danger without warning. Many people misunderstand this dynamic. They assume the fearful avoidant person is careless, manipulative, inconsistent, or impossible to please. Sometimes those behaviors can appear on the surface, but underneath them is usually something more vulnerable. A nervous system that learned trust can be punished, a heart that still wants love but no longer knows how to feel safe inside it, a mind that scans for betrayal even in moments of peace. And if you have ever loved someone like this, or if you recognize yourself in these patterns, then you know the pain is real, because nothing hurts quite like wanting closeness while being unable to relax when it finally arrives. Nothing confuses a relationship more than loving someone while fearing the very thing that love requires: trust. The hidden wound no one sees is often not anger. It is not bitterness. It is not even the memory of one specific betrayal. It is the emotional imprint left behind after trust was broken. It is the internal belief that says, if it happened once, it can happen again. If I let someone in, I may lose myself. If I depend on someone, they may disappear. If I feel safe, it may only be temporary. That hidden wound changes how someone interprets everything. A delayed reply may feel like rejection. A change in tone may feel like the beginning of abandonment. A simple disagreement may feel like proof that the relationship is unstable. Even calm love can feel suspicious because chaos has become more familiar than peace. When betrayal has shaped someone deeply, the danger is no longer only in what others do. The danger lives in anticipation. This is why many fearful avoidants seem strong and guarded at the same time. They may function well in life, they may appear independent, they may say they do not need anyone, but beneath that exterior is often someone who once needed love, trusted love, and got hurt badly enough that they built emotional armor around the most tender parts of themselves. The painful truth is that armor protects, but it also isolates. It keeps out threats, but it can also keep out genuine care. It blocks manipulation, but it may also block intimacy. Over time, the person becomes trapped between loneliness and fear. They want someone to stay, but they do not know how to stop bracing for them to leave. This is where the craving for love and the fear of love begin to collide. Fearful avoidants are often described as contradictory, but internally their behavior makes sense. They crave closeness because human beings are wired for connection. They want to be chosen, valued, understood, and emotionally held like anyone else. They may dream of a relationship where they can finally exhale and stop carrying everything alone. They may long for consistency more than they admit. But the moment closeness begins to feel real, another part awakens. The protective part, the part shaped by betrayal, the part that says closeness is how pain gets access to you. So just as they begin to bond, anxiety rises. They start noticing flaws. They become uncertain. They question the relationship. They pull back emotionally. Sometimes they disappear physically, sometimes they become critical, sometimes they become cold without understanding why. This can confuse partners deeply. How can someone ask for closeness and then reject it? How can someone say they miss you and then withdraw when you come near? The answer is often that two truths are battling inside them at once: the desire to attach and the instinct to protect. It is not always conscious. Many fearful avoidants do not sit there planning distance. They simply feel overwhelmed when intimacy reaches a certain depth. Their body reacts before their logic catches up. They may suddenly feel trapped, suspicious, restless, numb, irritated, or desperate for space. Then later, once distance returns, they feel lonely again and seek connection once more. This cycle can repeat for years if unhealed. It leaves the fearful avoidant drained and ashamed. It leaves their partners confused and hurt, and it reinforces the false belief that relationships never work. Past betrayal does not just create memories, it rewires trust itself. Trust is not only a decision, it is also a felt sense of safety. When trust has been broken repeatedly or traumatically, the brain begins to associate vulnerability with danger. Instead of seeing openness as connection, it sees openness as exposure. Instead of seeing dependence as intimacy, it sees dependence as risk. That means even when a healthy partner arrives, the fearful avoidant may still respond as if old pain is about to repeat itself. They may question sincerity. They may wait for hidden motives. They may struggle to receive affection because affection once came before harm. They may feel suspicious when someone is kind because kindness once preceded betrayal. This is one of the saddest consequences of unresolved hurt. The person who caused the damage may be gone, but the damage remains active in future love. New people end up paying emotional costs for wounds they did not create. Sometimes the fearful avoidant knows this and hates it. They may tell themselves, this person has done nothing wrong. They may want to relax. They may promise to stop overthinking. But healing cannot happen through willpower alone. The body remembers what the mind wants to forget. So they live in a strange state of emotional conflict. They want proof that someone is trustworthy, yet the tests never end, because no proof feels permanent. They want reassurance, yet reassurance fades quickly. They want certainty, yet relationships can never offer total certainty. This keeps them stuck in vigilance. And then comes one of the deepest fears of all, the fear of being hurt again. For someone with betrayal wounds, pain is not abstract. It is remembered emotionally. They know what it feels like to be blindsided, replaced, lied to, discarded, betrayed, or emotionally abandoned. So when they sense love growing, they do not only feel hope, they also feel the possibility of reliving that pain. This is why they may sabotage good moments. A peaceful relationship can feel terrifying, because now there is something meaningful to lose. The more they care, the more vulnerable they feel. The more vulnerable they feel, the stronger the urge to protect themselves becomes. Some create distance before anyone can hurt them. Some keep one foot out the door. Some pick fights when things are calm. Some become emotionally unavailable right when the relationship deepens. Some detach and convince themselves they never cared that much. These behaviors can look cruel from the outside, but often they are defenses against anticipated grief. They may think, if I leave first, I stay in control. If I do not need them, they cannot break me. If I keep walls up, I will survive. But survival strategies often destroy the very love they were trying to preserve. Then comes another painful reality: why they pull away when love gets real. At the beginning of relationships, things can feel easier. There is excitement, possibility, fantasy, and enough distance to feel safe. But when emotional intimacy increases, something shifts. Now expectations exist. Now attachment forms. Now the other person matters. Now loss becomes possible. This is when fearful avoidants often begin retreating, not because feelings disappeared, but because feelings became too real. They may need space and not know how to explain it. They may feel numb after a vulnerable conversation. They may become harder to read just when things seem strongest. They may ghost, delay commitment, shut down emotionally, or act like they suddenly need complete independence. To their partner, it feels like whiplash. To them, it feels like panic mixed with guilt. They often do care deeply. That is what makes it so painful. If they felt nothing, there would be no internal battle. But because they feel so much, closeness can trigger both love and fear at the same time. And maybe this is the part many people need to hear most. Some people are not running because you are unlovable. They are running because love touches wounds they never learned to heal. That does not mean you must tolerate confusion forever. It does not mean pain excuses harmful behavior, but it does mean the story is often deeper than rejection. Sometimes the person pulling away is also the person crying alone later. Sometimes the one acting distant is secretly terrified of losing what they finally found. Sometimes the one who cannot receive love wants it more than anyone can see. And if this speaks to your own heart, then know this: betrayal may shape patterns, but it does not have to define your future. What was learned in pain can be unlearned in safety. What was closed in fear can open through healing. What was broken in trust can be rebuilt slowly, honestly, and differently than before. Because the deepest wound is not that betrayal happened, it is believing it must happen again. But once someone begins to believe betrayal must happen again, every new relationship can start to feel like a future loss waiting to unfold. That is where the next layer of pain begins, not in obvious chaos, but in the subtle ways fear reshapes perception. Because for a fearful avoidant, danger is rarely measured by what is actually happening in the present. It is measured by what happened before, and when old pain becomes the lens, even small moments can carry enormous emotional weight. This is why mixed signals so often become part of these relationships. One day they can feel warm, affectionate, attentive, and deeply connected. They may open up in ways that make you feel chosen. They may seem all in, finally present, finally letting their guard down. Then suddenly something changes. They become distant. Replies slow down, energy shifts, their tone cools, they seem harder to reach emotionally, and you are left wondering what happened. Many partners assume those changes mean feelings were fake, but often the feelings were real. What changed was not always love, it was internal fear. When closeness increases, it can activate vulnerability. Vulnerability can trigger memories of pain. Those memories may not come as conscious thoughts. They may come as sensations: pressure in the chest, restlessness, irritability, emotional numbness, a sudden need for space, the urge to escape. So they pull back to regulate themselves, even if they care deeply. Then once distance calms their nervous system, they miss the connection again. Loneliness returns, desire returns, regret returns. So they move close once more. To the person on the receiving end, it feels like emotional whiplash. You keep trying to decode what version of them is real, the affectionate one or the distant one. The truth is both are real. One is the side longing for intimacy, the other is the side protecting wounds, and when those two sides are unresolved, relationships often become cycles of confusion. This is why many fearful avoidants are misunderstood. Their inconsistency is interpreted as indifference, manipulation, or games. Sometimes unhealthy behaviors do emerge, and accountability matters, but underneath many mixed signals is not strategy, it is inner conflict. They may genuinely want to love you and still not know how to stay emotionally present when love becomes real. Then there is hypervigilance, one of the most exhausting hidden effects of betrayal. Hypervigilance means the nervous system is always scanning for threat. In relationships, that can look like overanalyzing messages, tone changes, pauses, facial expressions, social media behavior, emotional shifts, and tiny signs most people would dismiss. What others experience as neutral, they may experience as warning. A distracted mood becomes suspicion of emotional withdrawal. A disagreement becomes fear that abandonment is beginning. A need for space becomes proof they are about to be replaced. This constant scanning is draining. It keeps the person emotionally tense even during peaceful seasons. They struggle to rest inside connection because part of them is always preparing for impact. Many fearful avoidants know they do this. They may even feel embarrassed by it. They tell themselves they are overthinking. They promise to stop checking, stop analyzing, stop expecting the worst. But fear stored in the body does not disappear because logic says it should. So they live in contradiction. They want calm love, but their nervous system does not trust calmness. Calm feels unfamiliar. Calm can feel suspicious. Chaos at least feels recognizable. That is why some people unknowingly recreate unstable dynamics, not because instability feels good, but because it feels known. The mind often mistakes familiarity for safety, and this is where small issues can start feeling huge. When someone carries unresolved betrayal pain, present moments often connect to past wounds. A simple misunderstanding is no longer only a misunderstanding. It becomes linked to every time they felt dismissed, deceived, ignored, or emotionally abandoned before. So the reaction may seem disproportionate. A forgotten call may trigger panic. A careless comment may trigger shame. A shift in routine may trigger suspicion. A normal boundary may trigger fears of rejection. The partner often feels confused because they are responding to the current issue, while the fearful avoidant is emotionally responding to years of layered hurt underneath it. This creates a painful mismatch. One person says, "It was just a small mistake." The other feels a storm inside that says this is how betrayal begins, and unless that deeper pain is recognized, the couple keeps fighting about surface events while the real wound remains untouched. This is why arguments in these relationships can feel repetitive. The topic changes, but the emotional core stays the same. Can I trust you? Am I safe with you? Will you stay? Will I be hurt again? Then there is something even more subtle, testing love without realizing it. Many fearful avoidants do not consciously decide to test partners. It often happens automatically through protective behavior. They may withdraw to see if you chase. They may become cold to see if you stay patient. They may create distance to measure how much you care. They may hint at leaving to see if you fight for them. They may hide needs to see if you notice anyway. Underneath these behaviors is often one desperate question: if I stop performing, if I become difficult, if I am vulnerable, if I pull away, will you still choose me? The tragedy is that these tests often damage the very security they are trying to create. A healthy partner may become exhausted. A loving partner may feel punished for no reason. A patient partner may slowly lose trust. And then when the relationship strains, it can confirm the fearful avoidant's deepest fear. See, people always leave. But what actually happened was more complex. The relationship was not destroyed by one person being unlovable. It was worn down by fear-driven patterns that neither person fully understood. This is why healing requires more than finding the right person. Even secure love struggles when old trauma keeps writing the script. Then comes the need for reassurance that never feels enough. Many fearful avoidants deeply crave reassurance. They want to know where they stand. They want to hear they matter. They want consistency, warmth, signs of care, emotional certainty. Yet when reassurance is given, relief may be brief. You tell them you care. It helps for an hour. You show up consistently. It helps for a week. You prove loyalty. It helps until the next trigger. Then fear returns, asking for fresh evidence. This does not happen because they are greedy for attention. It happens because reassurance cannot permanently solve wounds created by betrayal. External comfort can soothe, but it cannot fully repair an internal belief that says safety never lasts. So the partner may feel trapped in a no-win situation. If they reassure constantly, it still fades. If they stop reassuring, insecurity rises. If they create space, it feels threatening. If they move closer, it may feel overwhelming. This is why many relationships with unhealed, fearful avoidance become emotionally exhausting for both people. The fearful avoidant feels ashamed for needing so much certainty. The partner feels helpless because nothing seems to stick. And beneath both experiences is grief, the grief of wanting stable love while old pain keeps interrupting it. But there is another side to this story that often goes unseen. Fearful avoidants are not only hard on partners, they are often hard on themselves. After withdrawing, they may feel guilt. After overreacting, they may feel shame. After doubting someone loyal, they may feel regret. After sabotaging closeness, they may feel intense loneliness. Many suffer privately in ways others never witness. They may lie awake replaying conversations. They may miss someone they pushed away. They may crave a message they were too scared to send. They may feel broken because they cannot hold on to the very love they long for. This is why compassion matters, but so does truth. Compassion says their patterns come from pain. Truth says pain still causes consequences. Compassion says they deserve healing. Truth says others deserve stability too. Both can exist together. If you are the one loving someone like this, your pain is real. Confusion hurts. Inconsistency hurts. Feeling close one day and shut out the next hurts. You are not wrong for wanting steadiness. And if you are the one who recognizes yourself in these patterns, your pain is real too. It is exhausting to fear what you want most. It is heartbreaking to sabotage things you care about. It is painful to carry distrust into places that have not harmed you. But awareness changes everything. The moment you begin seeing the pattern is no longer invisible. The moment you recognize that not every trigger belongs to the present, healing can begin. The moment you realize reassurance alone will never cure betrayal wounds, deeper work becomes possible, because love cannot thrive where fear is always in charge. And the next stage of this journey is one many people rarely talk about: why some fearful avoidants sabotage good relationships entirely, why emotional walls stay up even when they care deeply, and what it truly takes to break the cycle before another meaningful connection is lost. Because the deepest tragedy is not being betrayed once, it is letting betrayal keep choosing your future long after the past is over. Because the deepest tragedy is not only that betrayal happened once, it is when that betrayal quietly continues to make decisions long after the people involved are gone. It lives on in reactions, in defenses, in distance, and in the moment someone finally meets genuine love, yet still cannot receive it. That is where another painful chapter begins: the sabotage of good relationships. Many fearful avoidants do not destroy relationships because they enjoy chaos. They destroy them because peace can feel more frightening than conflict. When someone has been conditioned by betrayal, instability often becomes familiar. Emotional unpredictability becomes the language their nervous system learned. So when a healthy person arrives, consistent, calm, honest, emotionally available, it may seem like the answer they always wanted, and consciously, it often is. But unconsciously, something else happens. Calmness can feel suspicious, consistency can feel temporary, kindness can feel like a setup, stability can feel boring or unreal, and safety can feel strangely uncomfortable. This creates one of the most heartbreaking paradoxes in relationships. The very qualities that could heal them may initially trigger discomfort. The person who communicates clearly may feel less exciting than someone unpredictable. The partner who shows up every day may not create the same emotional highs and lows the nervous system has mistaken for passion. The relationship that could last may feel less intense than the one that was never secure to begin with. So some fearful avoidants start finding reasons to disconnect. They focus on flaws that once seemed minor. They question chemistry that was clearly present. They convince themselves something is missing. They compare a healthy connection to an unhealthy fantasy. They create arguments where peace existed. They become emotionally unavailable once commitment deepens. From the outside, it can look irrational, but internally, they are often trying to escape the discomfort of being truly seen and safely loved. Because safe love asks something terrifying of wounded people. It asks them to stop surviving and start trusting. And for someone shaped by betrayal, trusting can feel more dangerous than loneliness. Then there are the emotional walls they cannot always explain. Many fearful avoidants know they care. They know someone matters to them. They know they do not want to lose the relationship. Yet when moments of closeness arrive, words disappear. Vulnerability feels stuck in the throat. Affection may be felt deeply, but expressed inconsistently. Love exists inside them, but access to it becomes blocked. This is not always coldness. Sometimes it is emotional paralysis. They may want to say, "I need you," but what comes out is silence. They may want to say, "I'm scared," but what comes out is irritation. They may want to say, "Please don't give up on me," but what comes out is distance. This is one reason relationships with fearful avoidance can feel so painful. Their deepest emotions are often hidden behind their least helpful behaviors. The partner sees withdrawal, but not the panic behind it. The partner sees criticism, but not the fear beneath it. The partner sees numbness, but not the grief underneath the numbness. And the fearful avoidant often hates this about themselves. They know they are sending the opposite message of what they truly feel. They know the walls are hurting the person they care about. Yet in the moment, those walls feel automatic. Many learned early that vulnerability was unsafe. Maybe needs were ignored. Maybe emotions were punished. Maybe trust was exploited. Maybe affection came with manipulation. Whatever the cause, the body learned that openness invites pain. So walls were built. The tragedy is that walls built to block harm also block intimacy. And after enough time, even the person behind the wall can forget how to open the gate. Then comes the guilt they carry in silence. This part is rarely discussed because most people only witness the external behavior. They see the distance, the inconsistency, the confusion. They do not always see what happens later when the fearful avoidant is alone. They replay conversations. They think about what they should have said. They remember the moment someone reached for them and they pulled away. They wonder why they hurt people they never wanted to hurt. They feel ashamed for needing love and resisting it at the same time. Some cry in private after acting cold in public. Some miss deeply the person they pushed away. Some want to repair things but feel too ashamed to return. Some convince themselves they do not care simply because caring hurts too much. This silent guilt can become heavy. It feeds the belief that they are damaged, impossible, or destined to repeat the same cycle forever. And when someone believes that, they may stop trying. They may settle for shallow connections. They may avoid intimacy entirely. They may keep choosing unavailable people because true closeness feels beyond reach. But guilt, while painful, can also become a doorway. Because guilt means awareness exists. It means some part of them knows there is another way to love. It means the heart is not dead, it is conflicted. Then there is the loneliness betrayal creates. People often assume fearful avoidants prefer distance, that they want space more than connection, that independence is their natural state. But many are not at peace in distance. They are simply more practiced in it. There is a difference. Some spend years appearing self-sufficient while privately aching for intimacy. They tell themselves they do not need anyone, yet feel empty at night. They keep conversations surface level, then wonder why no one truly knows them. They leave relationships to feel relief, then later feel a deeper loneliness than before. They crave being understood but hide the parts that need understanding most. This loneliness can be profound because it is not just the absence of people, it is the absence of felt safety with people. Someone can have attention, options, even relationships, and still feel emotionally alone. That is what betrayal often steals first. Not love itself, but the ability to relax inside love. And when someone cannot relax inside love, they keep touching connection without being nourished by it. This is why some fearful avoidants cycle through relationships, situations, emotional limbo, or long periods of withdrawal. Nothing fully satisfies because the true need is not just company, it is secure connection. Then we reach the pain their past creates for their partner. Loving a fearful avoidant can feel like standing at the shore watching the tide change without warning. One day warmth rushes in, the next day distance pulls everything back. You start studying moods, timing messages carefully, wondering what version of the relationship you will get today. Many partners become hyper-aware themselves. They question whether asking for needs will push them away. They over-accommodate to keep peace. They shrink their emotions so they do not seem too much. They accept breadcrumbs because they remember the moments of depth. They become addicted to the return after withdrawal. This can quietly damage the partner's self-worth. They begin to believe love must be earned through patience, silence, or endless understanding. They may confuse endurance with intimacy, and this truth matters deeply. Compassion for someone's wounds should never require abandoning yourself. Understanding their pain does not mean tolerating chronic instability. Empathy does not mean self-erasure. Loving someone wounded does not mean becoming wounded with them. Many people stay too long because they can see the hurt beneath the behavior. They know the person is not evil. They know there is goodness there. They know tenderness appears in flashes, and all of that may be true. But a relationship cannot survive on glimpses. It needs consistency. It needs accountability. It needs repair. It needs both people participating in healing. Without that, love becomes hope stretched thin. And now we arrive at one of the most important questions of all. Can they truly heal? Yes, but not by accident, not simply because time passed, not because the right partner loved hard enough, not because another chance appeared. Healing begins when patterns become visible and responsibility is accepted. When someone stops saying, "This is just how I am," and starts asking, "Why do I react this way?" It deepens when they learn to regulate fear instead of obeying it, when they communicate discomfort instead of disappearing, when they recognize triggers without turning them into accusations, when they let safe people be different from unsafe ones. Healing often requires grief too, grieving the betrayal, grieving the years lost to defense, grieving the people pushed away, grieving the identity built around protection. And then slowly, a new identity forms, someone who can feel fear without fleeing, someone who can need without shame, someone who can trust gradually instead of perfectly, someone who can receive consistency without calling it boring, someone who can stay present when love becomes real. This does not happen overnight. There may be setbacks, walls may rise again under stress, old instincts may return. But progress is real when awareness meets action. And if you are listening as the partner of someone like this, remember something equally important. You cannot heal another person's attachment wounds for them. You can support, you can communicate, you can set boundaries, you can love honestly. But you cannot do their inner work in their place. Sometimes the most loving thing is staying while they heal. Sometimes the most loving thing is leaving when they refuse to. Both require courage, because the next stage of this story is not just about whether fearful avoidance can heal. It is about what partners must understand, the signs real change is happening, and how two people can finally break a cycle that once seemed stronger than love itself. Because two people can care deeply for each other and still remain trapped in a cycle neither one fully understands. Love by itself does not always solve wounds created long before the relationship began. Sometimes love enters the room, but fear keeps controlling the conversation. That is why the next truth matters so much. What partners must understand if they are dealing with a fearful avoidance shaped by past betrayal. First, understand that love and fear can exist inside the same person at the same time. Many partners become confused because they assume distance means lack of feeling. They assume withdrawal means indifference. They assume inconsistency means there was never anything real there to begin with. Sometimes that may be true in certain relationships, but with fearful avoidance, it is often more complicated. They may care deeply and still pull away. They may miss you and still avoid reaching out. They may want closeness and still feel overwhelmed by it. They may appreciate your love and still struggle to trust it. This does not excuse harmful behavior, but it helps explain why logic often fails in these dynamics. You are not dealing only with preferences. You are dealing with unresolved pain reacting to intimacy. Second, understand that patience alone is not enough. Many loving partners believe if they are gentle enough, understanding enough, loyal enough, or patient enough, the fearful avoidant will naturally relax and become secure. While kindness helps, patience without boundaries often becomes self-sacrifice. If every cycle of withdrawal has no consequence, the cycle can continue. If every broken promise is excused because of their past, accountability disappears. If your needs are endlessly postponed while you understand, resentment quietly grows. Compassion is healthy. Self-abandonment is not. The strongest partners are not the ones who tolerate everything. They are the ones who care deeply while remaining anchored in self-respect. Third, understand that you cannot prove safety to someone determined to expect danger. This is one of the hardest truths for loving people to accept. You may be honest, consistent, loyal, clear, and emotionally available. Yet if someone's internal world is built around anticipating betrayal, your goodness may be filtered through suspicion. You text back quickly and they wonder why. You reassure them and they doubt it. You show up steadily and they wait for the hidden catch. You stay calm and they assume emotions are being concealed. At some point you must realize this is not a failure of your love. It is the unfinished work of their healing. Then come the signs they are finally changing. Real change is not dramatic speeches. It is not one emotional conversation. It is not temporary closeness after fearing loss. Real change is behavioral consistency over time. One sign is vulnerability. Instead of disappearing when triggered, they begin naming what they feel. They say, "I'm overwhelmed." They say, "I'm afraid you'll leave." They say, "I need space, but I don't want to disconnect." These moments may seem small, but they are powerful. They replace defense with honesty. Another sign is accountability. Instead of blaming every conflict on you, timing, stress, or circumstances, they begin owning their patterns. They recognize when they shut down. They acknowledge mixed signals. They apologize without turning themselves into the victim. They stop using pain as permission. This matters because healing requires responsibility. Without it, nothing truly changes. Another sign is emotional endurance. Old fearful avoidants often flee discomfort quickly, but healing people learn to stay present through difficult moments. They tolerate conflict without assuming abandonment. They hear feedback without collapsing into shame. They remain engaged when intimacy deepens, instead of instantly retreating. They may still struggle, but they recover differently. That difference is everything. Then there is consistency. Words become aligned with actions. Affection is no longer random. Communication becomes steadier. Promises are followed through. The relationship stops feeling like weather and starts feeling like ground. This is when trust can finally begin to grow. Because trust is not built through intensity. It is built through repetition. Then comes one of the most hopeful truths of all, breaking the cycle of fear and distance. Many people believe attachment patterns are permanent. They assume fearful avoidance will always run, anxious partners will always chase, wounded people will always repeat the same stories. But patterns are powerful, not permanent. The cycle breaks when awareness interrupts instinct, when the fearful avoidant feels the urge to withdraw and instead communicates, when the partner feels the urge to over-pursue and instead stays grounded, when conflict happens and neither person turns it into catastrophe, when reassurance is offered but not demanded endlessly, when space is taken without emotional punishment, when closeness increases without panic deciding the next move. These moments may sound simple, but they are profound. They create new emotional experiences the nervous system can learn from: safety after fear, repair after conflict, presence after vulnerability, stability after uncertainty. Over time, these repeated experiences begin reshaping what love feels like. For the fearful avoidant, love stops meaning danger. For the partner, love stops meaning confusion. For both, connection stops being a battlefield. But there is another truth that must be spoken clearly. Sometimes healing happens together. Sometimes healing requires separation. Not every relationship survives the growth process. Some bonds were built inside trauma patterns and cannot function once those patterns are challenged. Some people only awaken to their wounds after losing someone meaningful. Some partners become healthier only after walking away from instability. This does not mean the relationship was meaningless. Sometimes a relationship's purpose is not permanence. Sometimes it is revelation. It reveals what still hurts. It reveals what you tolerate. It reveals what love cannot fix alone. It reveals what healing must happen next. And if you are the partner who gave everything and still lost the relationship, hear this carefully. You were not worthless because someone wounded could not receive you fully. You were not too much because they shut down. You were not lacking because they withdrew. Sometimes people meet genuine love before they are capable of holding it. That loss belongs to their readiness, not your value. And if you are the fearful avoidant listening with a heavy heart, know this too. You are not condemned to repeat your past forever. You are not doomed to sabotage every good thing. You are not unlovable because you learned to protect yourself badly. Protection was once necessary, but what once protected you may now be preventing the life you want. Healing begins the moment you stop identifying with the pattern and start working with the wound beneath it. The final truth about fearful avoidance and betrayal is this: they do not fear love as much as they fear what happened the last time love felt real. They do not always reject people. Often, they reject vulnerability. They do not always want distance. Often, distance is the only safety strategy they trust. They do not always need perfection. Often they need enough stability to slowly believe pain is not inevitable. And this changes everything. Because once you understand that the real battle is not between two people, but between past pain and present love, you stop taking every reaction at face value. You begin seeing the hidden story underneath the behavior. Sometimes that understanding helps rebuild the relationship. Sometimes it helps you leave with clarity. Sometimes it helps you forgive yourself. Sometimes it helps you forgive them. But most importantly, it helps you stop confusing wounds with destiny. The past can explain someone. It does not have to define them. Betrayal can shape patterns. It does not have to own the future. Fear can delay love. It does not have to destroy it. And for anyone who has ever wanted closeness while trembling at the thought of trusting again, this is your reminder. The fact that fear learned its role so well does not mean love cannot learn a new one. Slowly, honestly, patiently, one safe moment at a time.